Hello once again, and welcome to another episode of Learning Photography with Maynard. Now, in our last tutorial, we went through the exposure triangle. And along the way, between the first and the second lesson, I did say that a $100 camera is always going to be better than any $1,200 iPhone. Now, to put my money where my mouth is quite early, I did tell you guys, I went on Amazon and I ordered a few things, and I went on BHP Photo and I ordered a $55 camera actually, and its kit length. So here's the video when I get to unbox them. So I will start with this guy right here. So there it is. I don't know if you can see it from there, but you could pretty much see it from right there. That is the camera, the EOS 350D digital. Now, this camera was actually released in 2005. So, I mean, that's incredible. That's a long time ago. And wow, they actually took the liberty of charging it for me. And you see, when I switch it on and I asked it for the date, well, it actually has an input date of 1 January 2004. So that's incredible. We're just gonna put this right here, and we will unbox the lens. I already had the same lens, an 18 to 55mm with image stabilizer. But since I'm going to give away this camera, I just thought I'll get a lens with it. So there's the camera, there's the lens, and one of these things will be the card. Now, this camera takes a compact flash card. So I had to get a compact flash card because, you know, all of the cameras that I have, they use an SD card. It's almost become a norm, right? You buy a camera, it uses an SD card. Well, this one certainly doesn't. It uses the compact flash card. So I got one on Amazon. It's got an Amazon warranty card, and there it is. And it's actually pretty big. It's actually a little different. So I'm just gonna come here, open my normal, so you can see this is its comparison to an SD card, you know. So, you know, that's my normal SD card right there, and that's my compact flash card right there. So yeah, we're gonna put these right here. Yeah, we're gonna go into this one. Let's see, cover. What is it here? Alright, so this is a USB capture card, like the one that I used in the second lesson, which you can find the tutorial in the description. And limited item deal. What this does is it allows me to just plug these guys into the laptop, and you guys can see what I'm taking at the back of the screen. So I'm gonna take my warranty cards. I'm gonna put them right here, and so in the LED lights. Another thing, guys, if you ever order things online and they come with these silicone things, don't throw these away. If you have a gym bag, put these. They actually help drain the sweat from your shoes and your gym equipment. So never throw these away. Always keep them quite handy. So now that we have this camera in our hand, I'm just gonna head over and pop open the battery. There you go, the battery's there. Full. Yeah, I'm gonna pop it back in there. And then video out. I don't have nails, so I just have to check. So that's my mic input and CF card input. Does this work? I'm gonna head over and pop this out. Okay, works. Gonna pop this in there. Where is that? I haven't used a CF card in such a long time. And EFS lens, let's go in. Yep, it does. So as usual, I always like to get this stuff together. Like that. And that's the first picture I've taken with this. Quite incredible, different. It's even got a different kind of screen to what I'm used to, but it shoots raw. It actually didn't cost me $100. It cost me $55 because it cost me about £40 and about £38, I think, for the lens. So just under $100 together. Just gonna go through the settings. Not a lot. White balance. So yeah, so that's guy. We've unboxed the cameras here, and now it's time to take this guy for a spin.
Hi guys, so hopefully you could see me. One of the mistakes I made was when I come out here, I didn't carry the quick release plate for the tripod. So I put the tripod with me, but I can't quite mount the camera. So I've had to hand hold it using my hand. Luckily my hand long enough to get myself in shot, but I am here. I went to a place that I know pretty well. It's just a park nearby, and I've brought the camera here. So I'm gonna take a few pictures with it of just the background scene behind me, and then I will compare that with the phone. I'm just gonna see how many shots I can get. I woke up a little late and the sun's almost going down, but that will be good because then I can compare the dynamic range in low light. So I would have loved to be filming myself from the back while taking pics, but sadly, because I left the quick release plate, I'm just gonna have to deal with this for now. But I think in the morning I'm still gonna get some sunrise pics. So when I'm getting sunrise pics, then should be able to do something with it. So that's that for now. So I've had to improvise a little bit. So I'm just I'm using my phone. But if you look here, one of the first features which is obviously going to make the camera stand out is it's got this thing right here. It's called a histogram. And I'll explain what that is. What a histogram is basically how light and how bright your picture is. So to the left there is the darkness, to the right there is the brightness. You never want your image to be all the way to the left, because then that means it's too dark, and all the way to the right means it's too bright. Now when you're taking pictures, the thing is most of the time the image that you see on the back of the screen, like this one, isn't always the image you'll get when you then plug into your PC to edit. So when you shoot, the way to properly check for exposure is a histogram, and I'll teach you about it later. But yeah, already just from being in the field, one of the limitations I'm seeing is that on the phone, I can only take one kind of picture. I'm unable to manipulate the pictures as much as I can on the camera, because obviously a phone is a camera, but a camera is built for taking pics. And yeah, as you can see, this is slightly different from the mini I taught you guys, but you'd see that 160, that's my shutter speed, and then 1.8, that's my aperture. So yeah, I'm just going to continue shooting, and I'll put up the images for you guys to check just now. Hey guys, so we're back. We're just gonna quickly scroll through the pictures, right? We're gonna do an X and Y comparison. So you will see that the image on your left is the iPhone and the image on your right is the camera. The iPhone does a very good job. I like the way that it captures the blue here. Although when you go slightly towards the trees there, you begin to see a little bit of chromatic aberration there. Well, actually, I've actually compared the wrong picture, you guys. It's actually supposed to be this pic and that pic, right? Apologies about that. I will do that again for you. And yeah, now we have the correct pictures. Yeah, so I like the way that it captures the blue here and the cloud here. This one is taken by the camera. I would say the camera captures the flowers better. They have a more better true tone to it with the magenta and the purple here. While the flowers here look a little bit pale. And when you zoom in a little to the flowers there, you begin to see the difference. The level of detail that is on this flower, for example, when you compare with here, is actually shockingly quite different, right? Of course, there's a bit of noise on both pictures, understandably, so it was in the evening. However, you would see that the picture on the left, which is the camera, seems to be a little more richer, while the one on the iPhone it looks just a touch, it looks a little pale. And I did try to fix it in editing, but this is the best I could pull out of it. The greens look a little pale, the water looks a little washed out. It just looks a little more washed out here, while here it looks a little more rich in terms of contrast and color. Right, and we'll go to the next pic. So 10 of X and Y. I'm just gonna take this one, command that one. Okay, now this one pretty much the same pic, except that this time picture on the left is the camera and picture on the right is the iPhone. And you'd see that the camera does an incredible job here of capturing the oranges pretty well. If you look at the same area on the picture, you would see that on the phone it's really captured just a lot of blue, and the edges between the tree itself and the sky, they're a little aberrated on the right, which is the iPhone. And again, despite having a lot more grain and noise on the left, right, you would, I think it's actually pretty much at the same level of grain on both, except that you would say this is a little more pale while this is a lot more richer. Now these pictures admittedly were taken towards the darkness, so it's understandably. Let's look at you look at the flowers there, that magenta. I think this is the proper representation of magenta. This one looks a little offish with a little bit of white. If you look at the slab right there and compare with the slab right there, you would say this one looks a little more black and the concrete comes out better. But overall, you could be tempted to say almost the same picture, from a distance. The camera captures the water better here. You can see the blue on the water, whereas from the phone you don't really see the blue. You get the silver-like color, and that's a lot more to do with the camera being able to polarize more and remove reflections of the light on the water. We'll move on to the next picture, which is so it's an X and Y. So you'll see the one on the left is the one on the right. The one on the left is the camera, and the one on the right is the iPhone. And when you get to this stage now, though, I think the camera at this point really starts to to shine. I know this is cropped differently, but when you begin to look at the images themselves, when you look at the detail, if you look at the middle of the flower here, on the phone it's really starting to look grainy and pale. On here it's really rich, the contrast is better. But more than anything, where you begin to see the differences, just look at the background here, right? This is the background on the camera, and if you look at the background on the camera here, it's really nice, blurry and rich, and the green is spread all over. And to even take it further, perhaps if you look at it deeply, you would actually see that this is spread out evenly. So the whole background in this picture is blurred out properly. I mean, it's blurred out nicely and properly. And whereas on the phone, when you go, there's aspects on the background where this part, for example, is more blurry than that part, and the green and yellow here is slightly brighter than the green and yellow there, of which on the phone this is apparently being shot at f1.8, and f1.8 really has to be when the background is so blurry, whereas this is just shot at f4. If this had been shot at f1.8, I'll guarantee you that background would be silky and smooth. So on this one, definitely the camera wins. The image looks more crispier, it looks better, the flowers look more richer, they've got a truer tone to them. You know, you can really see the details, the droplets of water, whereas on the phone, see these little gray spots, it really looks artificial. Alright, so let's drop that. Let's go to the next image. On the left is the cell phone, on the right is the camera. Pretty much same picture, same place. You'd see that, and this is pretty much same aperture, f1.8, f1.8. So let's compare the background blur. At f1.8 on the phone, I can still see the trees that are blurred in the background, and these ducks look to be pretty much around about the same focus. Whereas if I come to this duck, for example, you see this duck is pretty much in focus, it's crisp. The one next to it is very blurry. It's not the same with this on the one on the phone. Secondly, for some reason the phone captured the back of these ducks as blue, of which is actually white, and the orange beaks, I mean the orange looks almost the same, but this is much richer. But what would probably fascinate you more is just look at the way that the sun is setting under these trees. You know, there's an orange line. If you look on the picture on your right, is it the picture on the camera? Right, that should be the one on your right, which is MG1646CR2, because that's folding raw. And just look at that, you'll see that it's really orange on the top there. The grass is really nice and green and crispy. The phone does a good job of capturing the grass pretty well as well, but it struggles. That orange doesn't come out, and it's the second time that we're actually seeing this where the orange isn't coming out on the cell phone camera. We'll move on to the next. So here's one again where this one's pretty much almost cropped the same way, and f1.8, f2.4, 125 ISO, 100 ISO, 50mm, 6mm. When you compare this, the way that, if you look at the flowers, right, these ones are, the yellow is more deeper, and you can see the separation of the orange, you know, those little buds in the middle, right there, they're really orange and nice. Whereas here, it looks a lot grainy. I mean, you look at these leaves, they look washed out, they're a bit white, and it looks very, very digital. And when you move on to the blur, just look at how the bokeh here, the blur's called the bokeh, look at these little roundish dots that are blurry in the background, that, you know, that little flower there in orange, and how this flower behind is just turned straight into an orange blurry one, whereas here it's yellow, it's not really close. But I'd say on this one, the camera, which is on the left, again wins as opposed to the one on the right. Just gonna make it more interesting. Let's pick a picture. There's another one. On this one, I think the phone's done a very decent job actually. The iPhone XS Max, pretty orange. I like how the background is blurry. But once again, like I said, when you start going into the background, the separation of this flower and its background, whereas this flower and its background, that's when you really, you know, you see the camera starting to shine. Just look at how these petals are all crispy towards the end there, and the background is it's misty and dark. Whereas the background here, and this is iPhone's portrait mode, you know, that tries to focus a flower and then remove it, focus something and then remove it from its background, and it's not really looking, you know, as nice and intense, you know, as this side is. So jump up onto the next one. Right, and then here's another one. Let's see if we can drag it further up. Yeah, so drag that a little bit down. So on the left is the one taken by the iPhone, on the right is the one that's taken by the camera, the Canon 350D. And again, looking at these images, looking at the road, I would say there's better contrast on the right in terms of the road. It's much darker, it looks richer. Although the iPhone did a very good job of capturing the details. But when the image starts to go up and you start going to those trees, that's when the phone really starts to struggle. The leaves really look, they look very washed out. The trees look a little pale. Everything just looks like it's been painted with a shade of white. Whereas on the camera, it's pretty rich, it's pretty dark. You can pretty look, the bark of the tree is more, it's just got this richer, it's more colorful. So again, on this one, I'd say the camera wins again. So let's stop the comparison. And let's go to the really interesting stuff, right? So this is my friend Lebo, and just gonna compare with Lebo, and then there you go. At this point, I think the camera really starts to shine. Same image, almost same lighting conditions. If anything, the camera's actually had a higher shutter speed than the phone, but 50 mil, and just look at you look at the skin tone, right? The picture on the right is the camera, and just look at how this is so rich. You look at the skin tone, it's full. I like how the brown is coming out there. The teeth are extremely white, and look at even the hair color. You can really see her hair is black and nice. Her eyes have got that striking whiteness, and you can see the iris properly. On this one, it's a little green, and this is iPhone's portrait mode again. And then again, the separation from the background. When you look at the edges of the skin here, you can almost see how there's mechanical separation. And right here, the phone actually blurs just this little part under the eyebrow as it's blurring the background, and that's because there's no physical aperture in the phone, and this is blurred using lines. You can almost see these zigzag lines here that are showing where it's happened. And when you scroll deeper, look at the lipstick, right, on Lebo's lips, and just look at the lipstick here. This is pretty much the same picture in the same setting. If anything, right edge is actually under a light, so this on the left should have really been better, even though she's got the whole tongue going up. But you look at the teeth, on this one, there's only 3 of them granted, but they're a bit yellow. Compare them with how white these ones on the right are. Pretty white, pretty striking, pretty shiny. So on this one, without a shadow of a doubt, definitely again, the camera takes the cake. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's pretty much most of the images. I'll just take you through the ones on the phone again, just for you to see, and you look at them, right? And pretty decent pictures, as you'd expect with an iPhone. Takes decent pictures. I really like this one. I didn't take one with the camera, I think, but again, it's this, the way that it physically blurs some of these pictures creates a little bit of trouble with how its background is seamed up. But overall, very decent pictures for a cell phone. And then when you obviously then compare these with things, these ones have been mixed, so I'll do that. Rated, and then 5-star. So when you compare with these ones now, the camera really, even when it struggled and the ISO has been very low, the camera has done a very good job with these pictures. The colors look correct, it looks nice and bright, it separates them from the background pretty nicely. Very little complaints with these images, especially on the portrait. So overall, what I would say is the camera produces way richer pictures. It just, the colors, the skin tones, the textures, the contrasts, they really come up much nicer than on the cell phone. The cell phone, however, when it comes to capturing the blues of the sky, specifically the blues of the sky, I would no doubt at all saying on there, it's hard to compete, it's hard to beat. The cell phone does a very good job. But where the camera would then compensate is the phone doesn't capture the oranges correctly. And then another thing which I want to show you, which then explains why a camera just then blows the phone out of the water. I'm just gonna do that, do this for you, right? And then I want you to be able to see. You look at that. This is the original picture.
look at how dark it is. And this is filmed in RAW. It's shot in RAW on the camera, and because it's shot in RAW, all of these dark areas, we've been able to lift the shadows and produce this. So you go back, you look at these pictures, right? Even the ones that really look dark. That's the advantage. If you look at it before and after, this is what you're able to do. Because I would say if you look at the iPhone picture before the editing, it pretty much looked just like this. But after the editing, the iPhone picture really didn't look any different from that. It just looked a little more colorful. Whereas after editing this picture, look at how nice it then looks here. And that's just the beauty of cameras, because you're shooting in RAW. And because you're shooting in RAW, the dynamic range is so large, and you're able to then go in post when you're editing and just pull out detail from the shadows, pull out that color, pull out that contrast, drop your highlights, drop your shadows. And that's about the biggest advantage of shooting in RAW or on a camera. And like I said, in your next lesson, I will teach you about these things. But definitely going through them, it's not a lot of images, I know, but I mean, to have been able to do this, I mean, look at, and even on this one, I think the original is actually almost better than the edited one, right? Being able to come here, to take a picture like this and do that, right? Take a picture like that and do that, take a picture like this and do that, right? Just look at the before and afters, before, after, before, after. Just look at how much you're able to really make that picture rich. And this is only because we're filming on a camera, and the camera is doing this in RAW. It really makes for quite a nice view. You look at this, you'd almost think this is the iPhone version of that picture, but it's not. It's the RAW file. Check the RAW file, that's the histogram, and after editing it, that's how it comes out. You want to see the profiles, how it's edited. This is how much we're able to pull out, right? In terms of dropping the exposure, I didn't play that much of the contrast. If I had, it would have been even nicer. Yeah, it would have been like that. Highlights, shadows, your whites, your blacks, texture, clarity, dehaze, vibrant, saturation. You go into your tone curve. Then you play with your, your hue, saturation, and luminance, which is basically, how the color is distributed in the image, your tone. Then you go into the details, you correct your lens for aberration, you transform it. And this is all being done in Adobe Lightroom, but this is just to show how incredible, it is to shoot on a picture. And like I said, imagine this is a camera from 2004, launched in 2005. So if you took a camera from 2004, 2005, you wouldn't be able to use it today. It's basically totally unusable. There's nothing that you can do, on something like that. But on a camera from the same time, it will be able to do that. Now, when you then, consider that I actually bought this camera for the equivalent of $55 US, I think it's totally immense. I mean, the mere fact that I know there's some images where you would say the iPhone wins, like on this one. I thought the camera did a good job, especially with the oranges and the magenta. But in terms of overall appeal, you'd say maybe the phone won on this image. But the fact that the camera was even able to compete, a 2005 camera competing with the 2019 cell phone, is totally amazing and incredible. And then you even take it further than that. There are times, especially when you go to portraits. I mean, portraits were the one place where we're really able to look and say, you know what? When you look at the portraits, without a shadow of a doubt, no doubt at all, without a shadow. Just look at that. It's before and after. But just being able to pull out two like that and just compare them, that is incredible. And to be able to have been able to do this, that's immense. And that's a 2005 phone, So like I said, just being able to do this, you can't print out this one. It looks nice, you can put it on social media, but I don't think you can put this in a portrait. But this can be put in a portrait, and this is a camera made 16 years ago, and it's still competing. So that's pretty much it. I think I've put my money where my mouth is, and I think we totally agree that the camera, if by whatever fair assessment, it competes. A 2005 camera competes with an iPhone XS Max. It would compete with an iPhone 11 Pro, because when I've tested them before, I actually thought the iPhone XS Max performs slightly better in terms of true tone when you're taking pictures. But this is the most accurate representation. If when it comes to portraits, when you want that depth of field, when you want to separate your subject from the background, the camera has got no equal. And this is a $55 camera. You can buy 10 of those cameras, you still can't buy the XS Max. You would need about 30 of those cameras to be able to buy one iPhone XS Max. But just look at how incredible this has been and how the picture just looks incredible. But if you have your own camera, do take some pics, and then we'll compare them out. So your next lesson is going to be on white balance. I'm going to teach you guys about white balance, and I'm going to put up an M50 where you can actually see electronically what happens when you're changing the aperture in terms of the image going darker, the image going brighter, when you change your shutter speed. But yeah, for today I think we'll end it here. I had said I was going to do sunrise pictures, but I think these few ones that I've done really demonstrate just how incredible this is. And obviously, I mean, this lesson I think it's gone way past 30 minutes already, so I think you get the point, and we'll now move on. And once again, like I said, if you don't have a camera yet and you're doing these lessons, please don't rush and buy a camera as yet until we do the actual lesson that actually concentrates on which camera you should buy and why you should buy a particular camera and which one's the best camera for you to buy. So yeah, thanks a lot and enjoy, and ciao guys.